So I've been airbrushing now for around about 3 months or so, and I'm quite happy with my TimberTech airbrush. And I wasn't in the market for a new one until I was gifted this wrapped in anniversary paper from my beloved. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'll have a look at this then. This is the new airbrush that I've got. It is the Neo from Iwata Airbrush. And as you can see, the box has come with with nothing inside it bar the instructions and the airbrush. Now, when I got my TimberTech, there was a plethora of new bits and bobs inside it. There was extra needles and spare bits and spare bobs and parts and all sorts of marvellous things. Well, in this one, all I got was the airbrush. Now, that's not to say that's a bad thing, but if you're expecting a box full of goodies, you ain't going to get it. So what's my first thoughts on this? Well, I took it out of the box. I had a little feel of it. It feels a good weight. It feels well made. The motion seems good, but at the moment it seems like a cheaper airbrush. I can't really see what the difference is. Now, it does come with a screw-on reservoir. This is the 7mm one. You also get a 3mm one included as well. Now, I'm not quite sure why you would need the little one. I'm going to leave the big one on there, but it's there if you need it. So I suppose as spare parts go, you do get an extra reservoir. Whoopee do. I'm just going to take it apart just to get a feel for it. Now, let's be honest. This feels like it's been built better. It feels good quality. It feels like it's going to do the job nicely. But one thing you will notice, unlike the cheaper range of airbrushes you can get, there's no adjuster for the nozzle at the back. This one literally is aimed more at the professional, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when we go through the using of it. But you can't actually tailor the maximum amount that comes out of it. You'll do it completely by hand. Now, that's a great thing. It can also be a curse, and we'll talk about that. So I'm going to put it all back together, and it's going together lovely, wonderfully. All the machined parts seem to be wonderful. I was not quite sure what the difference was going to be between this one and the cheaper one. So after using the other one for 3 months, I can't wait to get this one all connected up and use it. Now, I know that my betrothed purchased this from Amazon, and it cost just under 80 quid, which, when you think about what I got for 80 quid when I first bought an airbrush, I actually got the airbrush and the compressor and all the gadgets and gizmos that came with it. So this is quite expensive considering what I paid last time. Now, it may not be the most expensive airbrush, but, you know, from my experience, this is a lot of money. And this is pretty much what you are going to get in the pack. You're going to get your little spanner, you're going to get your airbrush, you're going to get the little 3mm container to swap with the 7mm one, and you're going to get nothing else. Okay, so let's go across to using the thing. Now, I always use a little bit of needle juice when I first get an airbrush, so that's going to be no different now. So I'm going to take the needle out, I'm going to just open up the needle juice, and I'm going to lubricate this needle. I don't know if I needed to do this or not, but I decided, as always, I like to keep my needle well lubed. I'm going to do it. So I gave it some of the needle juice, I rubbed it all over, and I popped the thing back together. Now, the needle feels good, but you only get one. I think it's a 3.5mm needle, which according to reviews is absolutely fine for a whole range of painting needs. So the next question I was going to ask myself, did it fit onto my compressor? And you know what? Boom, it fitted onto the standard connection there. I was quite pleased with that. Thought I'd give it a little bit of a test just to see what it sounds like. So let's give it a squidge. And it makes the hissy noise. Now, as I say, you will not have anything to adjust the back of it. It will all be adjusted from the trigger. So I'm just going to use a little bit of air paint, a little bit of black just to test it, and I'm going to see how it feels. So, well, it's working. That's always a bonus. Now, one thing I did notice, and the reason I came back to this point, is when you pull the trigger all the way back, it releases an absolute avalanche of paint. So I'm just going to do a little bit of dry brushing on this one, and one thing I did notice was it throws the paint at it. Now that's a good thing when you're doing a little bit of airbrushing, but when you think about it, I needed to top this up a few times so it will get through more paint, it will put it down. Now what you don't want to do is be touching up some finer areas, pull it all the way back and deploy the hugest splodge onto your work. That will ruin it, so you're really going to need to practice using this airbrush. But it's going on lovely. I really do like the thick coats that it's putting on. It feels great. Does it feel any different to my cheap one? Well, at the moment, no, I can't say it does, but I'm sure as time goes on, I'll get more of information. Now, cleaning it out, relatively easy, same as before. Swilled it out with a little bit of water, give it a little bit of a dunk, ran the excess of the paint through it just to get rid of that black. And then I took a little bit of the airbrush cleaner, squidged it in there. This is just generic airbrush cleaner. I'll put a link in the description. Tipped it out, squirted it out, and it's ready to go and ready to be used again. I think the proof of the pudding in using this airbrush is going to be with a little bit of time. So I am going to come back and do a review in a month or so when I've had a chance to play with it. My initial feelings are it feels very similar to my cheaper airbrush, but I do quite like the control you get by pulling the lever to certain deployments, and that will give me a lot more control over it than I had before, especially when I'm priming. It used to take a long time with the other one. I had to adjust it and fiddle with it. Well, this one will hopefully be able to do this in one. Pull that trigger all the way back and do it. It is worth mentioning that you do get a 5-year warranty with this airbrush, which I don't think is a bad deal, really. You have to weigh up that against the cost of a cheaper airbrush. You can get them for about 25 quid. I don't think I'm experienced enough in airbrushing at this stage to make a definitive decision on whether I think you should buy one. I think it's about budgets. If you've got a reasonable expendable income and you can afford one, then get one. I think it's always best to buy the best quality you can afford. But if you really are on a shoestring, then the cheaper 22 quid Timber Tech airbrush kit will do you okay. It will do you fine, especially as a starter airbrush. If you're not sure if you're going to stick with the hobby, or you're not sure how you're going to get on with an airbrush, then there really is no point in spending a fortune on it when you can get them for a lot cheaper. So we're going to close the review here with, I'm going to come back to this in a couple of months after using it, and I'm going to give a definitive user review when I've used the thing. If you like all things 3D printing and 3D painting, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think of the Neo Iwata airbrush. Let me know what you think of the Timber Tech. Let me know any thoughts or any sort of decisions you made on buying things, and whether you thought they were good or bad. I'd really like to hear it all in the description, and we'll come back to this one in a month or two.